Hello and welcome to Not Fake News. We have three really important stories here. ISIS releases announcement as they advance in Iraq. American-born Islamists will conquer U.S. We have that story. Then, Detroit hosts Nation of Islam gathering. Thousands chant Allahu Akbar for U.S. Islam takeover. And then we have an audit that shows previous administration accounting error sent $1 billion to non-citizens across the country. That's interesting, right? So let's get right to it. ISIS releases announcement as they advance in Iraq, saying American-born Islamists will conquer the U.S., coming out of the conservative Daily Post, Sami D. Ganji. ISIS is still promising to bring terror to the U.S., this time from within. ISIS and other radical Sharia-oriented terror groups have issued a limitless number of videos and articles outlining in great detail how and why they are going to bring harm to America and any non-Islamic. Keep in mind always that non-Islamic means anyone who does not want to live like it were in the Dark Ages, without the internet for the men to keep the order. Ladies, so please stay seated and cloaked, beating their wives, or marrying children who usually die from abuse wounds. As they hold on Syria lessons by the second, ISIS is now saying that Islamic born within the United States will be the next to carry on the ideals of the religion of peace by blowing people up. Writer Paul Wood of the BBC wrote in an article that appeared in The Spectator that said, a document is circulating among ISIS members through text messages and Twitter titled, "The Caliphate Will Not Perish." It is a series of moral-boosting declarations by ISIS leaders, living and dead, in 1993 when the first World Trade Center bombing happened. There were pledges from those captured to bring them down the following time, which they did. These same murmurings are being heard by many, yet are being ignored once again. We started with you, and we shall finish with the false White House. Washington, D.C. and any innocents near the White House have long been the goal of the ISIS flag. Some may chalk this up to the rantings that Hitler had while in the bunker, still creating, drawing, and casts of what his Germania was going to be, even as his walls were quivering under Allied bombing. But the sad truth is that interest in Muslim faith has grown, not diminished, since 9/11. The new cool way to rebel is to be Islamic for many, and like most cool movements, the normal is not most often embraced. The radicals were the extreme mohawks of punk rockers, and the most vulgar words of rap, pushing it. And now that means embracing bombers as rebellious and hip. This cutting-edge religion is rooted in ancient ways of barbaric torture and inhumanity, but the hipster crowd doesn't read books unless they're left on the coffee shop table and feature lots of pictures. A member of ISIS Shura Council has said that Muslim-born in the U.S. will become an army of conquest, before going on to predict they are getting ready for the battle in their homeland. Today, the Caliphate is in Iraq and Syria. Tomorrow, it will be in the White House. This is what he quotes. We are told time and time again that Islam is a religion that wants to get along with us, and yet we hear and see only the worst elements of the religion rising each time. For every nation that is mostly our friend, like Jordan or the UAE, there are a million Iranians, Libyans, Iraqians, and Somalians that feel differently, right? And the average American does not fear in any way an Islamist. We fear those that always manage to claw their way into our leadership roles within Islam. homegrown jihad, the terrorist camps around the U.S. These are terrorist camps around the United States. All these little red dots. Okay? In these terror camps, they have guns and they train like the boot camps. And they live there like little armies inside of America. Do you see this? ISIS is predicting that homegrown terror will... Now, this isn't a prediction. Well, I've seen the video and of them literally running with their guns in their cream-colored outfits, literally cream-colored. ISIS is predicting that homegrown terror will become their new means of outreach in America. Former Danish ambassador to Syria, Rolf Holmboe, informed Wood that 90% of those native to Denmark who fought for or with ISIS and terror cells like it are back home now. He went on to say that some of them were being instructed to smuggle themselves back for operations. There could obviously be an upsurge in terror attacks in Europe and in the Western world as revenge for the fall of the caliphate. Don't forget this. This is happening right now. You can Google it. These words are the kinds of facts that President Donald Trump has spoken about many times. It is not just one man saying these things, but every single world leader with any knowledge or past experience in working with the new and expanding form of predatory Islam. It was uncovered in 2015 that in 2012, long before the refugee crisis was anything even hinted at being this dire, ISIS and terrorists talked about how causing a refugee crisis would be a way to infiltrate the EU and America. It is for this reason that the terror groups attacked innocents and caused them to flee their homes. It was not done to merely get money, which was given to them in boundless amounts by the Obama administration. Or they just stole it from the moderates. But what they wanted was to get a lot of people fleeing the terror areas and then to put in radicals inside with the moderates that are fleeing. And hold on, I missed my place. Fleeing the terror area and to blend in with those running from it. I mean, it's, War 101, slip right in, right? Those bent on our destruction and death are at the door, and the American left wants that door to be left open. For some strange reason. This has been the plan for a very long time, which is one of the reasons that so few nations were willing to assist Afghanistan while Russia was warring with them. In the 1980s, at the time, the world was undefined. In the 1980s, at the time, the world was unified against communism, with only Berlin, China, and fallen Cuba on board with the Soviet Union when the Russians defended themselves from Islamic terror. The world condemned Stalin, Lenin, and the whole Soviet agenda with good reason, but they never banded together to help Afghanistan because everyone knew just why the Russians were fighting them. Even then, Islam has taken over most of the Middle East by the sword many centuries prior, lead to the Crusades having to form to battle them, and even still, they were waiting at the Russian border to snap the crosses down from every Russian Orthodox church from here to the Kremlin. So even back then they were doing this. Unfortunately, even with all of this proof to be observed in clarity, many in the do-gooder crowd will all fake news sites like the now proven fake CNN to show us pictures of sad-faced refugees and not understand that this is the weapon that ISIS has. Our goodness. They have our goodness. And ISIS is devoid of it because the rest of humanity does. Therefore, ISIS knows our Achilles heel. and will use our heartstrings like piano wires in which to choke us with. It shall be the very noose that hangs us. Remember this guy? David Cawthorne Haynes, a British guy. This open-door acceptance that the EU has embraced after such evil and death of British citizens is why, more than anything else, Britain left the EU. So what are the sad-faced ones, those that ISIS has displaced with American funds? This may be where the libertarians and conservatives need to dig into the pockets and help NATO, since we are stuck within their framework currently, not because they're particularly efficient. Secure a safe zone in Syria, as Donald Trump said. This way, those that really are in need, regardless of their religion, may be safe. No Syrian family needs to starve to death because ISIS terror. But, by that same token, no American or Western family needs to be at risk of death because of ISIS terror either. Hopefully, this new round of facts from ISIS, in their own words, will awaken everyone to that fact. You know what? This is so important that I'm not going to go with those other two stories. Share this with your friends and family and let everyone know what's going on here. Okay? Also comment below, please. And if you haven't subscribed to our channel, what are you waiting for? Hit that button. It's free. Okay? And if you want to get breaking stories as they come in, you hit the bell next to the subscribe button. And finally, if you like what we're doing here at Not Fake News, that's great. You can help us by liking the video. And when you do that, you push us up on YouTube and Google, and you know what that does? It knocks down the shitty, crappy leftist propaganda videos. So like that video and share this with your friends and family. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time at Not Fake News.